A Border Patrol agent came in our room with a 2-year-old boy and asked us, "Who wants to take care of this little boy?" Another girl said she would take care of him, but she lost interest after a few hours. So I started taking care of him yesterday. His bracelet says he is 2 years old. I feed the 2-year-old boy, change his diaper, and play with him. He is sick. He has a cough and a runny nose and scabs on his lips. He was coughing last night, so I asked to take him to see the doctor, and they told me that the doctor would come to our room, but the doctor never came. The little boy that I am taking care of never speaks. He likes for me to hold him as much as possible. Since arriving here, I have never been outside and never taken a shower. A 15-year-old from El Salvador.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
We were put into 3-sided cages with the fourth side open to the outside, filled with loads of people. We had to wait for someone to stand up and quickly take their place on the ground. My 8-month-old baby was naked outside with no blanket for all 4 days we were there. We were freezing. My baby couldn't sleep because the ground was cement with rocks, and every time she moved, the sharp ground would scratch her. There were many pregnant women who had to sleep on rocks, and I felt very badly for them. My baby began vomiting and having diarrhea. I asked to see a doctor, and they did not take us. I asked again the next day, and the guard said, "She does not have the face of a sick baby. She doesn't need to see a doctor." Since we arrived here, my baby has lost a lot of weight. Her pants are very loose now. She is not sleeping because she is sick, and it is very loud. She cries a lot and is listless. A 16-year-old mother from Honduras.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
We are being held in a cold cell. We sleep on the floor on mats with blankets. I have only been permitted to take a shower twice in the almost 2 weeks we've been here. We've been allowed to brush our teeth once. About 3 days ago, I got a fever. They moved me alone to a flu cell. There is no one to take care of you there. They just give you pills twice a day. I am also having an allergic reaction all over my skin. My skin is itchy and red, and my nose is stuffed up. 2 times they gave me a pill for it, but not anymore. They let us out of our cell twice a day for a few minutes, but other than that, we just sit there. We cry a lot, and the other kids in the cell also cry. It's so ugly to be locked up all the time. An 11-year-old from El Salvador.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
I started taking care of a little girl in the icebox after they separated her from her father. I did not know either of them before that. She was very upset. The workers did nothing to try to comfort her. I tried to comfort her, and she has been with me ever since. She sleeps on a mat with me on the concrete floor. We spend all day, every day in that room. There are no activities, only crying. We eat in the same area. We can only go outside to go to the bathroom. We don't have any opportunities to go outside to do activities or anything. There is nothing to do. None of the adults take care of us, so we try to take care of each other. A 15-year-old who didn't specify their country of origin.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
Home by Warstenshire. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
Your neighbors running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats. The boy you went to school with, who's kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
No one leaves home unless home chases you. Fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then, you carried the anthem under your neck, under your breath, only tearing up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you would not be going back.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains, beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled means something more than the journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it. No one could stomach it. No one's skin would be tough enough.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
The go-home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers sucking our country dry, they smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess up ours. How do the words, the dirty looks roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off.
I hear your cry. I see your beauty. I feel your pain.
Or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore. Unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the oceans, drown, save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here.
It is our imperative to make a difference. We have become complacent and tolerant of the social and moral ills whose screams have descended on tone-deaf ears. This is a crime against humanity. It must repudiate your humanity. What can you walk away from, and what begs your attention and consequential action of your hearts and your minds. When you see injustice, do you shield your eyes and heart, or do you delve into action to abate the anguish of human souls, screaming words of silence that fall between blades of grass and cracks in the sidewalk? Our faith demands that we address the misery of others. You can make a difference. And if you decide that there is nothing that you can do, that is complacency at its worst. Do you define your morality, or is it defined for you? Our faith demands that we do not abdicate our responsibility. In Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our ancestors, we are reminded it is not your responsibility to complete the work, but neither are you free to abstain from it. The late Elie Wiesel of blessed memory said, "The opposite of love is not hate. It is indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness. It's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy. It's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death. It's indifference." Indifference, my friends, is not acceptable, because we all know too well where indifference takes us. On Sunday at Tisha B'Av, we are reminded of disasters that happened again and again and again. The destruction of 2 temples in Jerusalem, the Bar Kokhba revolt put down, the complete destruction of Jerusalem. In 1290, the edict in England banishing Jews, 1492, 1914, so many dates of the Holocaust. Tisha B'Av is a search for self amongst destruction. It is a reflection of our inner emptiness. Why is there so much pain in our world? It is a reminder of lost dreams, of lost hope. We lament the loss of who we could be. It forces us to think about what is really important and who we are in this day and age. It is a loss of living up to our expectations. It is a loss of the relationship with God and with humanity. And we grieve at our lack of compassion. But yet, we remember that we can heal when we understand the pain of others and their vulnerability. Because it is time to open our hearts, not just on Tisha B'Av, but every single day, to learn to become whole again. And as a friendly reminder, on Saturday, August 10th, IFCLA will be sponsoring a training for attorneys. Suzanne Brown will lead this. Attorneys How to Represent Immigrants. On August 11th, on Sunday, Heartland for Human Justice will have a vigil from 2 to 4 for all to attend. At Temple Emmanuel from 10:30 to 11:30, there will be a study session. At CRC from 12 to 2, there'll be a Talmud study session with Daniel and Rory. And this is a chance to learn and lament on how we got here, on taking responsibility for our part in creating the situation in the global South, leading to desperate immigration, and making their stories our stories. So what can you do? I hope you have told so many people that you would be here today. And then you go home and you share and you share and you talk to everybody you are with. You tell everyone about this experience. You put it on social media. You talk and you educate and you ask for action. No, you demand for action. You encourage that people can and will make a difference.
Please feel free to take a picture of this. Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota has introduced a bill to protect children who are separated, both at the border and for immigration raids on families here in the States, so that children are protected. There's help for them. Please call your senators, whichever state you're from. Also, postcards, letters to the editor, all of these would be very welcome. We will be planting seeds that grow in fertile ground because each of us is a farmer. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Maureen Kenyon, and I chair the Immigration Task Force for the Archdiocese of St. Louis. And I'm supposed to talk about calls to action. Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to do that with this group because obviously you are people of action. The first planning meeting that I went to, folks were like, "Oh, I hope we get a bus." We fill up a bus, and literally the next meeting, they were like, "Well, we're almost at capacity for the second bus." And the fact that you would travel, I think we were 10 hours yesterday, and speak out on behalf of people you probably will never meet, who have no personal effect with you, really tells me who you are. So I'm going to offer some suggestions instead of calls to action, because again, with this group, that's kind of embarrassing. I do want to tell you, though, we spend time at the border. Most of the people, when they get out of detention, don't have the luxury of getting on Southwest Airlines and flying somewhere, so they get on Greyhound. So the trip that we did from St. Louis was 10 hours. We had snacks, we knew the language, we had food, we were with our friends, nobody was afraid. Especially for the people who were getting on the bus in El Paso, in San Antonio, if they're going to their families in New York, they are on that bus for 2.5 days with no money, with no language, and with the few little snacks that they give them at the shelter. So I think it really was saying something about our journey. It was kind of, in a way, a chance for you to experience on a very small level what our brothers and sisters are going through. And I also want to just say thank you to the people of Lawton. I can't imagine if St. Louis, somebody said, well, there's a group coming from Lawton, Oklahoma, and they want you to pray with us. And we'd be like, oh, sure, whatever. And the fact that you all came out and that the pastor opened up his beautiful home for us. So, St. Louis, I think we need to give them a round of applause. So, some concrete suggestions. There will be postcards on the bus that you can fill out, and we'll mail them in for you. On the 11th of August, after the Talmud study program from 11 to 2, we're going to have a program called Lament and Learning from 2 to 4. And some of our parishioners from Our Lady of Guadalupe, some of our undocumented parishioners, are going to come down, and we're just going to have conversations with each other. I will ask, if you're interested in attending that you RSVP so we have a good idea of how many translators to have and stuff. On August 21st, again at CRC, Sarah John is going to come and train people to do accompaniment. So when people leave the detention centers, they get ankle monitors, and they have to check in with ISAP once a month. And this will be training for people to accompany those brothers and sisters to ISAP. You don't have to speak Spanish. You don't have to know anything about the system. All you need to be is a friendly face who's willing to stand with them. And I honestly can tell you, as an immigration lawyer myself, there is really an impact just by your presence. The diocese goes to the border at least once a month. we'll be sending out a list to everybody who attends here of how you can contact people. We would love to bring stuff. We're grateful to NCJW because they gave us literally 1,000 pairs of socks left over from back to school that we'll be bringing to El Paso on Monday when we go down. But there'll be opportunities every month from now until the end of the year
that if you